So for today's class, let's start off with a few blocks close by, and we'll also start off with a bolster, as well as you might want to strap for this, although that's going to be optional for you. So find your way to your mat, to our most comfortable, easy seated pose, whatever that may be for you, with one leg crossed over the other if that's comfortable. We'll take a nice few deep breaths here. We're just observing our breath without judgment. Are we breathing shallow today? Are we taking nice deep breaths? Are we breathing with our chest, our belly? We're observing without judgment where we're starting our practice today. And we'll slowly scan the body, just top to bottom. Where do I feel tension today? Is there tension in my jaw? Am I clenching? Do I feel tension in my shoulders, my back? Perhaps I have tension in my hips today. Perhaps there's some soreness throughout my body. Without judgment, we're just scanning to see how we feel before we start our practice. And we'll start off today with a few deep breaths. We'll place our hand on our chest and one hand on our stomach. We're going to try to take some nice deep breaths into the belly. So big breath in, filling that belly with air, and allowing the ribs and chest to follow, and then letting it all out. Nice deep breath, slowly letting the belly rise, the chest and ribs fill, and exhale, let it go. We'll take a few deep breaths here, just at our own pace, with no strain. Just trying to slow our breath and to deepen our breath. Let it out. Letting the body just sink down into the mat, into the stability of the ground beneath us. When we find stillness, we're going to slowly invite some movement. We're going to start off today with a few shoulder circles, just trying to wake up the body. Nice big circles, just feeling if there's any tension in the neck today. Rotate in one direction and then follow by the other. And we'll bring some movement to our neck, shifting from side to side. Just assessing the body, feeling where we might have tension. And we'll take our left hand here. We're going to reach that left hand nice and deep down towards the ground, rooting our body towards the ground. Or if you want a deeper stretch today, you can take that left hand and just tuck that under your hip and just lean slightly away from that left side, just to bring that shoulder down. And we're going to slowly bring our right ear towards our right shoulder, feeling that nice deep stretch along the left side of the body. And with that right hand just guiding, not straining. And we should feel that stretch just along the left side of the neck, coming down into the shoulder. And we'll use our breath here, a few nice deep breaths, to expand the ribs and deepen that stretch. As we take a nice deep breath in, you'll feel that stretch increase. And exhale, let that go. We'll slowly play with this motion. So I'm going to invite you to tuck your chin in, and we're trying to make as many chins as we can here, just to deepen that stretch on the left side. And then we'll slowly add some rotation. So as I slowly look down, I can feel that stretch moving just slightly to the back of my neck on that side. And I can play with this. So where do I feel that good stretch for me? Maybe I want to hang out there for a minute. Maybe I want to come in and out of that stretch if that feels good. But wherever that stretch begs you to stop and hold, wherever you feel that that spot is for you, we'll take a few breaths here. Again, using our breath to deepen that stretch. Nice big breath in, and exhale, let it go. And we should find this a comfortable stretch. We're not yanking on anything, just guiding. One last nice deep breath. We're going to exhale, let that go, and slowly release the neck. We're going to let the chin start to pop out here. We're going to rotate up towards the sky. So here I should move that stretch from the back of my neck towards the front. To be feeling that stretch deepen up towards the jaw along the front of the neck. And this may be a tight spot for you. You may really feel a deep stretch here. Maybe you want to ease off a little bit if that's too much. Or maybe you were tighter at the back and this one feels good. We'll take another nice deep breath here, using the expansion of our ribs to deepen that stretch. And we'll slowly release the neck and that left shoulder. You're feeling any movement here that you need to reset, whether that be our shoulder circles, whether the neck needs to rock a little back and forth to come out of that stretch, that's fine. Whatever movement the body needs. And we're going to switch sides to the other side. So to that right side, I'm going to tuck that hand underneath my hip or just reach down, root myself down towards the ground and bring my left ear towards my left shoulder. We're going to just start here, letting that stretch sink into the right side of the neck, feeling a nice, comfortable stretch there, not cranking on anything, just a nice, comfortable stretch. We'll take a few deep breaths here, letting our breath deepen that stretch. From here, we're going to add and play with that stretch to see where we're tight. So I'm going to tuck my chin in, and I can feel today this right side is my tight side. So as I tuck that chin in, I can feel that deep stretch. Maybe I'll add a little rotation and see where I'm really tight today. So my nose is kind of coming towards my armpit. If your nose ends up in your armpit, you're in the right spot. But you can play with that rotation and find how far I rotate depends on where I'm going to feel that tension. You find the spot that's right for you. We're going to take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, let that go. We'll take a few breaths here, just letting that relax. We're never tugging on the neck, just guiding it. Letting that breath be what deepens that stretch. And we'll slowly unwind from this stretch. I'm going to unwind the neck and untuck my right hand from under my hip. I'm going to come back. I forgot we're going to do looking up too. So I'm going to let my chin poke out and look up towards the ceiling. And I can keep that right hand underneath if I want to deepen that one as well. And here we'll feel that nice deep stretch towards the front of the neck. A few nice deep breaths using the ribs. We'll slowly release that. Any movement here that you need, rocking side to side, maybe a few circles, just to come out of that nice deep stretch. whatever the body craves there. And we're going to slowly work our way down the body, adding some movement further down. So I'm going to shift my weight over towards my right hip. So I'm shifting my shoulders over to that side, coming forward, leaning forward over my legs, and slowly coming to the left. I'm going to sink down, tucking my tailbone underneath me as I curl to finish that circle. Coming over to the right, taking a nice deep breath in, opening up the chest, sliding to the left, and then tucking my tailbone in, exhaling as we curl into the spine. And we're going to do a few circles like this, just getting the spine lubricated, getting it moving, waking up the low back. So these can be big circles, small circles, whatever the body needs today. So we're going to tip that pelvis forward, breathing in, and then slowly tucking the tailbone underneath as we exhale. And then we're going to switch sides. So if you're going to the left, go to the right. We're just going to loosen the body up. We'll do a few of our cat-cows here seated. So if this is comfortable, you can stay here. You can always put a blanket underneath the hips to bring you up a little bit further. But we're going to do a seated cat-cow. So this is a great option if maybe being on the hands and knees isn't comfortable for you at this point. So I'm going to open up my chest, arching my low back, taking a nice deep breath in, just relaxing here. Just a few breaths, letting that sink in. And as I exhale, I'm going to tuck that tailbone underneath, curling the body, my gaze coming towards my lap. And we'll take just 2 breaths here. And we're going to slowly match that with our breath at our own speed. So chest open, nice big breath in, gaze comes towards the sky. Exhale, tuck the tailbone underneath, round the shoulders, and gaze comes to the lap. We're going to open up the chest for our cow. Nice big breath in, nice and relaxed neck. Exhale, curl underneath, and let that go. And as we inhale, the body relaxes. We soften the belly, we soften our pelvic floor. We take a nice deep breath in. As we curl into our cat, we're going to exhale. We're going to engage, drawing the navel towards the spine and engaging the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha. And inhale, let that go. And at your own speed, we'll exhale and engage the pelvic floor. Inhale, let that relax. 2 more, just at your own speed. And one last one. Alright, let's bring our legs out from underneath us. So I'm going to turn to the front here, make myself a little bit of room. So I'm going to bring my legs out from underneath me, maybe do a few ankle pumps here, just to get the blood flowing back to my ankles if I've been sitting on them too long, just to wake up the legs, maybe some ankle circles to the right, to the left, whatever the body needs to wiggle out of that stillness. I'm going to bring my legs up, and if you're on your mat here today, you can bring your feet to the edges of your mat. We're going to do a few windshield wipers propped up. So I'm going to drop my right knee in. My left knee is going to fall to the side. And coming back and forth. We're just trying to wake up the body here. It doesn't need to be a deep stretch unless that feels good right now, by all means. You'll notice that I'm trying to get into my hips today because they've been feeling a little tight. So I'm trying to keep my pelvis down, not letting it pop up too much. There's nothing wrong with that, but the more your hips pop up, the more you'll get some movement through the spine and a little less through the hip. Neither way is wrong. It's just, where do you want to loosen up? Where do you want that stretch today? So I'm going to try to keep that into my hips by keeping my hips down on the mat while I just loosen up those windshield wipers. I'm going to prop myself up a little further. So here, this depends on your comfort level. I'm going to come into a butterfly stretch. So I'm going to drop my knees off to the sides. And that might be a little deep for me today. I might want to take maybe my yoga blocks and place one underneath each knee if that gives me some more comfort. So we can place those under the knees just to get a comfortable stretch. Perhaps I want to get deeper into my knees, so I'll take those blocks away and I might bring my feet even in a little bit closer if that's comfortable for me. So a little bit of wiggle there if that's what the body craves. Or we can slowly ease into a butterfly. If both of those feel a little too deep, I'm going to take some blocks behind me and just prop up a bolster. Taking that bend out of the hips, I can relax with the knees open, just back onto my bolster and still get a good stretch through those muscles of the groin, just at my own pace. So whatever variation of that was comfortable for you, whether that's upright, whether you're reclined back, we'll take some breaths here. We'll just let this stretch sink in. And we'll pay attention to how the hips are feeling. We're just getting started in our practice today. How does this feel? Do I feel tense? Can I relax? Do I need to take a few breaths just to let that go? We'll breathe deeply here. Maybe practicing that diaphragmatic breath. So if you want to join me, you can place your hand on your belly and your chest. We'll take a couple of nice deep breaths. Letting those knees just sink down a little deeper as they let go of some of that tension. So wherever you are, if you're comfortable there, feel free to stay there for a few more breaths. If you feel like maybe you want to join me to deepen that stretch a bit, I'm going to sit up nice and tall and maybe stretch a bit forward. So I'm adding a little bit of a bend there, just to get a little deeper into my hips if that's comfortable for you. Wherever you land today, that's perfect. So if you have your blocks behind you, we're going to just slide those off to the side. We're going to slide our bolster and our blocks out of the way. And we'll make our way slowly to our tabletop. So you can shift off to your side and come around to the front of your mat if that's comfortable for you. If you're ready to pop right up, you can pop up onto our tabletop. So our wrists are going to be underneath our shoulders. Our knees are going to be underneath our hips. And in this position, we're going to repeat that cat-cow in a tabletop position. So we'll start off just taking a nice deep breath in, letting the belly sink, letting the tailbone rise. Gaze comes to the top of your mat. Nice big breath in. Maybe we feel like a breath or two here, just letting that low back stretch if we've been tight. And then on your next exhale, we'll tuck the tailbone underneath, arching the spine towards the sky, drawing the navel towards the spine, hugging baby up and in. And inhale, let that go. Exhale, tuck the tailbone underneath, gaze comes towards the knees, drawing the navel towards the spine. Inhale, release. everything relax. On this next exhale, we're going to draw baby up and in. We're going to hug baby, and we're going to engage our pelvic floor. And then inhale, let that go. One last time. Tucking the tailbone underneath, exhaling, hugging baby. And at the very top here, we'll engage our pelvic floor. And inhale to let that go. So if we need a little more movement through the spine right now, I'm going to invite you to just explore some movement. I love barrel rolls myself, so I'm going to slowly draw a circle as if my shoulders are meeting the inside of a barrel. And I can lead that movement in a few different ways depending on where I'm feeling tension. So right now I'm starting off with my shoulders. But I can get a little pelvic movement by imagining that I'm drawing a circle with my tailbone on the wall behind me. And that's a wonderful exercise if you're having any discomfort around the tailbone. Think of it as just slowly moving those muscles, slowly massaging them and getting them to relax. So you can lead that movement in whatever way is comfortable for you. Now I'm going to take a nice deep stretch here. So I'm going to come into my child's pose, whatever variation of this works for you. So if you're comfortable, you can bring those knees maybe a little wider wherever you feel that you've got that space. And we're going to drop back, just bringing the chest towards the mat. Maybe you want a deep stretch through the shoulders, walking those hands a little bit further forward and resting your head on the mat. Now, if we need a little bit more space, we can do that in a few ways. So I can take a block or maybe even 2 blocks and place those under my forehead to create a little more space. Maybe I'll widen my knees and rest here and relax. And if you're at a stage in pregnancy where you want a little support for belly, you can always put a little rolled towel just to help with the weight of baby to support the belly. And we'll take a nice deep breath here, trying to sink maybe that tailbone a little further back towards our heels, trying to relax. And we'll rest here in whatever variation is comfortable for you. Maybe this is a restful pose, maybe you're feeling a deep stretch. We'll just observe the body and try to let anything go, any tension go that we do feel. And when you're ready, I'm going to pop up, and if I've got my blocks, I'm just going to slide them out to the side. Coming back into my tabletop position, I'm going to do some hip circles. So I'm going to bring my knees back underneath me, get my wrists underneath my shoulders so I've got some good support. I'm going to draw circles with my hips. So here I am on the left side. I'm going to draw some nice circles. And I'm not trying to get that too high because I'll really work through my spine there. What I'm trying to do here is to just draw a nice circle with just the hip, keeping the back fairly neutral. And we can do a few the opposite direction. Now this is great to lubricate those joints, but if you're working along with me, you can feel it starting to burn. At least I feel it's starting to burn. It's also a great strengthening exercise for those hips. Once I'm off to the side, I'm going to stretch that leg out to the side. So I've got a nice kind of stretch through the groin here. Maybe for a little support, you might want to bring your right foot a little bit more out to the side to kind of kickstand there, or behind you, wherever you're comfortable. I'm going to rock back, just getting a deeper stretch in that left leg. And we can use this as an active stretch, just rocking in and out. Just loosening up through those deep groin muscles on that left side, loosening up that hip. We're going to rock back and forth here. If you want to get a little deeper here, you can always bring that right leg a little further out to the side so that your weight is in between the knees, and that will deepen that stretch. Or we can keep that knee right underneath us to make it a little bit more comfortable. Let's bring that leg back underneath us. We're going to do the same thing on the right side. So shifting our weight to the left, making sure that our knee and our wrist are underneath us, and nice circles on that right side. Right. And we'll switch it up and go the other way. Beautiful. And if you've got that room, you're going to extend that leg out to the side and rock back. And that knee underneath you or a little further out, wherever is comfortable for you. All right. Now I'm going to bring my knee back underneath me here. I'm going to slide both knees slightly to the side. Now here we're going to come into our frog pose, whatever level is comfortable for you. I'm going to rock back, just opening up those hips. So some people can get quite deep here. They can drop down quite a ways. Some of us are going to need to keep those knees a little bit closer underneath. It shouldn't be painful. We shouldn't feel ourselves tensing, wherever that comfort is for you. So you can slowly sink a little bit deeper if you feel like you've got the room to, as the hips start to relax as well. So we're actively stretching those muscles, just rocking back, coming forward, just allowing them to slowly loosen up. We can play in this frog stretch, so I can add a little rotation through my hips, popping up one foot and the other foot to loosen up the hips in this position. And rocking back to see if I get a little bit deeper after I've loosened those hips up. Again, not painful. Wherever you land is perfectly fine. All right, so I'm going to slowly bring my knees back underneath my body. Maybe I'll walk my hands just slightly forward. Tucking my toes underneath, I'm going to come into my first downward dog of the day. So my first downward dog I need to play with. I'm going to walk those heels back and forth, just loosening up through my calves. Maybe try to drop my chest a little bit further down. I'm going to play with some motions coming onto my toes and sinking down. And if downward dog doesn't feel right for you today, you can stay in your tabletop or maybe even come into a puppy pose just to get some of those stretches through the upper part of the body, wherever you feel you need to be today. And once you've found that comfortable position, we'll slowly walk our hands to meet, our feet, to meet our hands and relax down in our ragdoll. And for you, you may need a little extra support. You can always meet us in halfway lift. Just for that little support. Make sure we have a slight bend in the knees here if you are using that for support. We don't want to be pushing onto the knees, so keep that bend. Take a few breaths, bringing the shoulders back from the ears. If you're still in your ragdoll, you can join us whenever you're ready. And we'll come back to our fold if you found that comfortable, and we'll rise up and relax those arms down into our mountain pose, just shaking off whatever we need to shake off, getting comfortable into our mountain pose. Once here, I'm going to bring my feet a little bit wider, wherever you find comfortable. And we're going to drop down into our Malasana. So there's a few variations here that you might find comfortable. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see some of those. So I might want to come down and I feel like I need a little bit of support. My ankles always pop up a bit here because they get tight. maybe my hips are a little uncomfortable. I don't want to go quite that deep into my hips, and I can bring a block underneath and kind of readjust myself and find myself relaxed here. So that may be one very nice variation for you. You may also find the wall is very supportive. So I might kind of come from my standing position to my wall. So here, forgive me, I've got some windows, but I might find that wall behind me, widen my stance, and slowly sink down, maybe even still placing those blocks underneath. So I've got something to support me behind. And we can take a few breaths here. And we can even play with that motion, maybe dropping one knee down to come out of that deep stretch, and the other, maybe a little back and forth. Just loosening up through the hips here. Coming back to whatever variation is right for you, whether you have blocks under or you're nice and deep there without that. You can also always put something under the heels, so your rolled blanket is wonderful underneath those heels if you just find they pop up all the time. But we're going to relax and take some breaths here. So nice deep belly breath in, and I'm using my hands to kind of open up, pressing into the inside of my thighs there to get a little bit deeper stretch, or you can keep those relaxed. Hands can be where they're comfortable. Hands can even be on baby as some support. I'll take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. Deep breath in here, and exhale, let that go. All right. So if you're against your wall, we're going to come back to our mat. If you're on your mat, you can just slowly come out of your malasana. So if we're still up, we're just going to take those blocks underneath and bring our knees down and underneath us so we're back in our tabletop position. Maybe we need a few cat-cows here just to relax, just to come out of that nice deep stretch. We're going to walk our hands. I'm going to move my blocks here. I'm going to walk my hands forward. I'm going to keep my hips over top of my knees so that I can get a nice stretch through the upper part of my back, just dropping my chest down into my puppy pose. So here we're an extended puppy. We've got those shoulders reaching up overhead into a nice deep stretch. We're going to move this stretch so it's a more comfortable position for our pelvic floor. Perhaps I can grab my bolster from the side, and maybe I want to just rest into that puppy pose. So less of a stretch through my shoulders and more of a relaxation exercise for that pelvic floor. And relaxing here. If we want to get into a bit of a deeper opening of the pelvic floor, I'm going to take my feet and widen them so they're a little bit further out than my knees. And maybe I'll walk myself back just a little bit. And you'll feel that distance between those sits bones widen as we actually start to stretch through the pelvic floor. And I may take a few nice deep breaths here, just to let the pelvic floor relax, to let go of any tension while I'm in that nice deep stretch. And if that's too much for you, feel free to bring yourself just a little bit forward or bring those feet a little back so they're in line with the knees and relax there. Wherever you feel like you can rest and breathe. And after a few nice breaths in our puppy pose, we're going to slowly walk ourselves back. So we're sitting back onto our heels. We'll do a few nice wrist circles just to loosen up through the wrists here. Maybe we want to invite a few of those seated cat-cows while we're on our knees, just to come out of any deep stretches that we've had. And we're just going to sit off to the side of our hips and swing those legs around, whatever way you find easiest to bring them. I'm going to grab my bolster and those blocks that I've had. And this time we're all going to just come back into a bit of a reclined position. So we'll stack those blocks whatever way is comfortable for you. They can be next to each other or just stacked up one on top of the other. And I'm going to bring my bolster behind me so that it's on a little bit of an incline. So I'm comfortable here and have a little bit of support. And from that position, you just make sure they're not going to wiggle around on me. I'm going to slowly recline back onto my bolsters. We're going to bring those feet out to the edges of the mat. Do a few windshield wipers here just to bring blood flow back to the legs. And I'm going to take my left leg and cross it over top of my right. So I'm coming into a figure 4 stretch here. Now this may be comfortable for you. You might want to stay just as you are. But I would invite you to just introduce some movement here by rocking the hip side to side. You might slowly feel that stretch increase on the outside of the hip. We'll rock that side to side here. Maybe we try to get a little deeper by walking that right foot back a little bit further and trying to drop that left foot down just a little further. And the more my hip pops up, the more I'll get that through the back. So I'm going to try to keep my pelvis down while I'm trying to touch that foot down so I can feel a nice deep stretch on the outside of my leg here. And rock back. And we'll come in and out of that stretch a few times. Beautiful. I'm going to adjust myself here and bring that right leg over top of the left. And the same thing on this side, just rocking slightly side to side. If I want to get a little deeper there, maybe I try to bring that foot a little closer to the ground, coming back up or walking that left leg in just a little further to deepen that stretch. And we'll slowly shift in and out. So a nice deep stretch in the outside of the hip here. Now they were a little loosened up there. I'm going to grab my strap as well. And this is optional if you have your strap close by, that's great. But we're going to come back into that butterfly pose. So I'm going to bring my feet close together and drop the knees out. And we're going to rest here for a little bit. So if you want a nice deep stretch, but you also want to be restful, we're going to take that strap and just slide that behind you. We're going to bring that strap. You can cross one side over the other, or we can come straight, whatever length of strap that you do have. I'm going to bring that under each ankle. And we're going to tuck that strap together. So here I've got a fairly short strap actually for me. So this one is a little bit of a deep stretch to demonstrate this one. So you can simply, so this strap has a little clip on it for me. Other straps, sometimes just tying them in a knot is fine. We're going to bring those hips in. I'm going to slowly recline back and let my knees drop wide. So I've got my feet pretty close in towards my hips, which is a stretch that's fine for me. also because my strap was really short, so a longer strap would be good for this one. If you do need a longer strap so we're not as deep, or you can simply let go of that strap. You could have your feet wherever they're comfortable and just let the knees drop open. A little deep, you can always take some extra blocks and place them underneath those hips so we have support. And we're going to relax here and breathe here. And you can practice whatever breathing technique you find comfort in here. I'm going to come back to my diaphragmatic breath. Taking a nice deep breath in, filling my belly with air. Exhaling and letting that go. Slowly seeing if I can deepen that breath. And exhaling. Letting that go. So today we did a few very relaxing positions for our pelvic floor. A few nice hip opening positions to help us manage any tension that we might have. In birth, it's important to have a connection with your pelvic floor. We don't need a pelvic floor of steel to deliver a baby. We just need that pelvic floor to relax and make way for baby. But once baby's here, we suddenly need to regain that strength that we once had. So our connection to our pelvic floor, being able to engage when we need it and have that strength when we call upon it, as well as the ability to let go of that tension, to relax, soften the pelvic floor. They're both equally important. So in our practice today, in our cat-cows, we practiced engaging that pelvic floor and then relaxing the pelvic floor. In our hip circles, our pelvic floor stretches, and our deep puppy pose, we let go of any tension that we may be bringing into that day. We are connected to a muscle, then it will be much easier to reconnect with that muscle when we need to call upon it again. In this case, postpartum, it will be so much easier to reconnect with your pelvic floor if you have that connection now, and we work on that control over the muscle, both to engage and to relax. We'll take a few nice deep breaths here, filling the belly with air, exhaling and letting that go. If you're comfortable here, you're more than welcome to stay. If you do have a strap and you feel like you need to release that, so we can slowly bring one foot out and then the other, or you can reach for that strap, that tie, and release it as well. At this point, feel free to keep the legs in your butterfly, or maybe we extend them nice and long. Maybe I'll slide myself up a little higher for more support, or if you're comfortable lying on your back at this stage in your pregnancy, you can take the bolster and those blocks out from underneath you if that's more comfortable for you. But find that comfortable position and return to your breath. Scan the body one last time. How do the hips feel after coming into those deeper stretches? How does the jaw feel? The neck, the shoulders? Do we still hold any tension? Is there anywhere we can send our breath, taking a nice deep breath in and letting go of that last bit of tension that we might feel? With a few deep breaths, we'll let whatever tension remains soften. Return our focus to our breath. Slowly deepening our breath. Slowly slowing our breath. And let the mind wander if it wanders. Slowly bring it back to your breath. And once we've found stillness, maybe we'll bring some movement back to the body. Wiggling our feet, wiggling our toes, the wrists, waking up the body. Blinking the eyes open. Slowly coming, whenever you're ready, to our side. So we can roll to the side. If we've got those blocks underneath us, we'll prop ourselves up slowly and coming up to a seated pose. And one last time, we'll bring our hand back. So one hand is on belly, one hand is on our chest. We'll draw our breath down to baby. Taking a nice deep breath in. Expanding the belly, sending that air down to baby. Sending our love down to baby. Sending our energy down to baby. I am strong. You are strong. I am loved. You are loved. I have peace. You have peace. We have peace together. One last deep breath in. Namaste.